Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Over the last 18 months, my team has worked on a project assessing Gonokendros, which is another name for community libraries in Bangladesh. I'm Paige McDermott.
I'm Daniel Ng.
I'm Jack Sullivan.
And I'm Sarah Turkley.
So I'm going to ask all of you to think about your first experience in a library. You were maybe 5 years old, maybe younger. I know I was in kindergarten, and I spent 2 days a week in the library, one day reading books, and the other day doing basic computer training. These are things that I've grown up taking full advantage of. I've always had access to books, to the computer, to the internet, to communication, and I've fully taken this for granted in my life. But in many parts of the world, access to information is a privilege and not a right. And this is what we spent our JPC project looking at, was how to make the Gonokendros a place where people in Bangladesh could access information easily and usefully. So we worked with BRAC, which is one of the biggest nonprofits in Bangladesh. They provide a variety of services ranging from health programs to education to microfinance to agriculture. And we worked in 2 of their departments, so their education department and also their social innovations lab. Both of these programs helped us to build out our model for how to develop a better community library program. We also worked with a local technology startup based out of Dhaka that provided us with tablets that were fully equipped with Bangla language programs that we could use in the field. So when we started our project, we had a couple of goals. We were mainly focused on technology, how to connect people in Bangladesh to the wider world, to the internet, and get them access to information outside of just the resources they had in the libraries already. So this meant finding cheap and innovative ways to get internet to people in rural communities. But when we got to Bangladesh, things changed a little bit. BRAC had a little bit of a different perspective on what they wanted their community library program to look like, and they had better knowledge of what it currently functioned as. So we adapted our project a little bit to meet their needs so that we were able to make it successful for both of us. So we ended up looking at 3 different areas. The first was how to improve the community library use for the members, so getting more members in and making it a more positive experience for them. The second was looking at the librarian retention rates. They had a high turnover, and we were trying to figure out why that was and how to incentivize librarians to stick around. And the third one was our technology, so looking at how what low-cost technology options there were and how we could integrate those into the Gonokendros to make access to information easier and better for everyone involved.
Oh, I have this. So to better determine how to address those 3 issues, which were again, community utilization, librarian retention, and improved technology, we packed up our bags and went to the field to hear from actual Gonokendro users themselves. So in total, we visited 10 different Gonokendros across 3 districts in Bangladesh: Ghazipur, Mymensingh, and Sylhet. And these 10 sites were chosen specifically by BRAC for us to visit for 3 reasons. 1, they're computer equipped. 2, they're close to the capital city of Dhaka, where BRAC is headquartered. And 3, they're the most likely candidates to be included in BRAC's upcoming pilot project to introduce new technology such as printers, scanners, and laminating machines into the Gonokendro program. So when we got to each Gonokendro, we began by conducting a combination of unstructured group and individual interviews with 4 broad categories of participants: librarians, student members, general adult members, and trustee members. We would ask questions such as, what are your current experiences using Gonokendro, and what kinds of new services would you like to see added in the future? From then, we would introduce the Omnic tablets and hand them out to the Gonokendro members for them to test out while observing their reactions. We would ask follow-up questions such as, what did you like or dislike about the tablets, and how do you think they compared with the computers currently in the Gonokendros? Additional data was collected from the tablets themselves, because not only did all the tablets come pre-uploaded with educational materials ranging from health to agriculture, all the tablets also had the capability of tracking user data through their user clicks, including gender, what subject folders were clicked on the tablets, and the frequency of the clicks. So we believe that the combination of our qualitative information collected from the field and our quantitative information collected from the tablet statistics enabled us to create recommendations that were based more on the needs and desires of the Gonokendro users as opposed to our own presuppositions.
Great. So while we are fairly confident in our methodology, we want to also acknowledge some limitations that we might have encountered. So the first of this is kind of the most obvious, which is language barriers. So when we went into the field, BRAC would provide us with a translator, but a lot of times it felt like the translator didn't necessarily convey our more abstract and open-ended questions correctly the first time. So a lot of times we'd get yes or no answers to open-ended questions, and we had to kind of push and be persistent in order to get more open-ended and sort of illuminating questions. Second is generalizability. What we mean by this is mostly that we only went to 10 Gonokendros, as Daniel mentioned, of over 2,000 across the country. And so while, as Daniel mentioned, BRAC selected these Gonokendros for us, and one of the criteria was obviously that they be representative of the things we were going to be recommending and of the wider Gonokendro structure, it's possible that we might have some generalizability issues with both our observations and our recommendations. The third is direct oversight. What we mean by this is basically just that every time we went into the field, BRAC would send with us a higher up from the BRAC education program. So we would have BRAC executives there with us, and a lot of times it felt like their presence sort of put pressure on people, and people felt pressured to paint BRAC in a more positive light, and a lot of times they weren't necessarily, it didn't seem like they were being honest with us their first time, so the first time we would ask a question. So again, we sort of had to be persistent with this and sort of push through to get honest answers. And the final thing is interdepartmental friction. Paige mentioned that we worked with both the BRAC education program and the social innovation lab, so a lot of times it felt like we were sort of, we would get two different answers to the same question, or they would give us sort of different expressed objectives, and we had to sort of navigate that as well. So with this all being said, we do want to convey to you sort of what we did with these objectives, the recommendations we ultimately ended up making. So the first objective that we want to talk about is improved librarian retention. So just to give you some background on the way the librarian structure works, the librarians are paid they basically get 50% of fees that are paid to the Gonokendro. So when people pay they pay about 50 cents a year for membership, and then they also pay for computer training that is taught by the librarian. So computer training on Excel and Word and how to navigate the folders of a computer. So essentially our goal was the librarians expressed also interest in receiving free training sessions from these BRAC education centers that are local to a lot of the Gonokendros. So they would get training, they expressed interest in, for example, maternal health, more computer training specific to things like Photoshop and Paint. And they expressed both personal interest in this, but also sort of professional interest from the perspective that they can incorporate these new training sessions and make new training sessions at the Gonokendro, which gives them more revenue opportunities. So what we ended up doing is we created what we endearingly call a three-pronged structure, which is basically an experimental model that BRAC can use to figure out the best way to improve librarian morale. So basically what they're going to do is the first condition Gonokendros will be assigned to is a condition where every X number of trainings that the librarians get people to sign up for, they themselves get a free training at the BRAC Education Center. So the idea here is that with X to be determined by BRAC. So every time they get 10 people to sign up for a computer training, they themselves get a free training at the local BRAC Education Center. So this sort of puts the incentive on them to advertise for the computer training sessions, which obviously increases the revenue component, but there's also the added benefit of the incentive of receiving the free training at the end. The second condition is based on time. So here it would be every 3 months, 6 months, year, whatever BRAC determines to be the most realistic, the librarians will receive a free training session at the Gonokendro. So the benefit here is that it adds that component of consistency, so the librarians can be extremely confident that they're going to get another free training session every X number of months, and it gives them that incentive to stay on. But it obviously doesn't have the revenue component as much. Then finally, there's a control group where BRAC will be assigning libraries to, which is business as usual. They don't receive these free training sessions, and things just kind of carry it as they happen.
Okay, our final set of recommendations had to do with community utilization increase. So what we noticed when we were at each Gonokendro is that the majority of users were in fact secondary school students, since the Gonokendros are on the school property. So in order to draw a wider audience to the Gonokendros, based on our interviews, we recommended increasing amount of sports equipment, as you can see up there, musical instrument selection, and also a wider genre of books and newspapers. Another thing we learned when we were on the ground there was that BBC Janala had created a partnership with BRAC. And what BBC Janala is basically an English language learning platform that operates through television shows, booklets, and also text messages. And so we thought the Gonokendro would be a perfect opportunity to implement this BBC Janala program, because it would also draw anybody who wanted to learn English to the Gonokendros. Something else that we learned while we were just about to leave Bangladesh was that BRAC had decided to implement one of our recommendations right after we left. And that recommendation was the position of a nighttime male librarian. And so the significance of that was that generally the Gonokendros are closed at about 4 or 5 p.m., which really cuts off a large amount of the population that has a typical 9-to-5 job. So through implementing this male librarian position, it opens up the Gonokendro to older users and also just anyone who couldn't make it during the day. And then finally, we have the recommendation to integrate tablet technology to increase access to information. So as you can see by the photos, the computers at most Gonokendros are older models, and that involves using a lot of energy and electricity, which is definitely hard to come by in rural areas of Bangladesh. So the tablets have the advantage for many reasons, but a few of the big ones are that they don't require English language or really any literacy at all because they verbalize the folder that is being clicked on. So that just demonstrates the wide variety of users that can take advantage of the tablets. Additionally, the tablets are a very unique technology and can also be personalized by BRAC. The one thing we used the tablets for was to test each program that had been preloaded on it, and so no internet access is needed, and the programs can really be tampered with by BRAC to make them the best for the users. And so while these 3 recommendations really seem like separate things, we wanted to underline the fact that they really all work together. So by increasing tablets in the Gonokendros, they draw a wider variety of people and also offer the librarians the incentive to create new training programs to make more money. And so in conclusion, we really hope these recommendations can help create a library system that gives all the experiences that we've taken for advantage throughout our lives to people in Bangladesh. And we would like to thank BRAC, our community partner, JPC, our faculty advisor, Brad Brown, and our families for the support throughout the project. Thank you.